Hello guys! After a suggestion from a Discord member, by the way, link in the description, go join that, we decided to make a level cap disruption tier list. This is purely based on warframes, not weapons or anything. This tier list also includes subsuming over abilities and is not just the base abilities. Another thing, this is personal experience and personal opinion. If your opinion differs from ours, that's okay. Just keep it civil in the comments and don't start randomly throwing around insults only because your Warframe was put into F tier and not into S tier like you would. Also, another thing, pay attention to what I say, because a lot of the times I've noticed people just don't pay attention to what I say and then comment that exact same thing that I already mentioned in the video in the comments and ask why that XYZ. So please pay attention. Another thing, a message from Ino. Ino is my build crafter, in case you didn't know. It says so in the description, go check it out. You can make any Warframe broken if you invest into it enough and if you know how to mod the frame. If you do that, any Warframe can and will be broken. You just invest enough into it and eventually it will just work. That functions for all Warframes, doesn't matter how we rank them. You can make them broken if you just put your mind to it. Another thing that I want to include, this tier list was written down before the Exalt changes, meaning probably a lot of Exalted Warframes are gonna be in lower tiers. Since we have not had time to test it yet, it's not out yet, we can't test it, we don't know when the update will release, just somewhere in March, but we're making the tier list now. So the rankings for certain Warframes might differ after the update drops. With that out of the way, let's get right into the tier list. At first, we have Ashe. We put him at low A tier to high B tier. The reasoning for that, the main downside of him is Bladestorm only works on trash mobs and not disruptors. He is good if you decide to go for a crit slash setup, then he's really good because of his passive, which just buffs slash perks in general. So if you decide to go for that, Ashe is really cool. But besides that, there's not much going for him in our opinion. So yeah, low A, high B. Next up, we have Atlas. We put him in C tier. Because the problem is, the punch build is the only viable build on him. Besides that build, he is just pretty much meh at best. He really needs some love if you want to make him work in Disruption. Next up, we have BANSHEE. BANSHEE, in our opinion, is A+ tier, so high A. She has one major issue, and that is survivability. But if you figure that one out, she becomes a ridiculous damage dealer, or damage buffer would be the more appropriate word, because her sonar gives you a ridiculous damage boost. It makes for some stupid damage numbers, so yeah, if you just spec into that, you will have no problems. Plus, she has a armor strip thanks to her Augment of the One, which functions at a relatively low power strength percentage. Plus, Silence is a great CC tool, which deactivates even Eximus abilities and Acolyte abilities. So overall, high A tier. Next up is BARUUK. We put him in D tier, cause he has some major issues. One of them being condition overload only applying on direct hits and not on the waveform. As what I read in the patch notes, this didn't change. They just added that it can hit for combo counter. That's cool and all, but that doesn't fix the innate issue. He has ridiculously bad status chance. It would need a buff for that. He has extremely good survivability though. That's the thing here's going for him. But sadly, his 4 has too many problems and offers little to no benefits if you want to use it against disruptors. So overall, we put him at D tier. Next up, we have our first S tier frame, CALIBAN. He has practically everything. The damage vulnerability, which also doubles down as a CC, and it also buffs how many status effects you hit on enemies. He has shield recharge rate through his sentient bodies. He has a lingering armor strip. He has minions who can actually deal damage, and I mean actual damage. And another good thing, he has a good subsume slot. His 1 is absolute trash, so you can always subsume over that. Overall, a very solid frame, would recommend S tier. Next on the list is CHROMA. CHROMA can deal some solid damage through additive increases, but there is one major issue with him as well. The problem is armor. Armor is ridiculously bad. It is not good for survivability. Yes, you can build for a health tank setup, but that fails at around level 1k, and it's overall not worth it to spec into that. So the only thing he has going for him is that additive increase, and that is not good. He needs some love. Next on the list, we have CITRINE. We decided to give CITRINE a low A tier. If you give her raw, she demolishes everything. You have free CC, infinite energy, free red crits. The crystal bakes enemies. The only problem is you need to invest heavily into her if you want her abilities to actually do damage. But besides that, she's a very well-rounded frame and actually worth taking a look at if you build her correctly. Next on the list, we have CYTE. We put CYTE at S tier. With or without the Helminth, it doesn't matter. His sniper literally demolishes everything from demos to random trash mobs. He has a pretty goated passive. The pylons give you wall hacks and a headshot multiplier, which is insane. He can have infinite invisibility, which just adds a ton of survivability. And on top of that, if you don't infuse anything, you can have every element infused into your gun, including your exalted weapon. So you can just have free blast procs, or free toxin procs, free heat procs, whatever you want. So overall, a very solid frame. I would say S tier. Next on the list is DAGATH. We have 2 ratings for her. One for a weapon buffer build, and one if you just go for an ability focused damage build. If you go for a weapon buffer build, we put her at definitive low A tier. She can have indefinite invulnerability with the augment if you play it correctly, a really nice crit damage increase, a viral and a slow CC, overall very solid. But if you decide to go for ability-focused builds, where you want the horses to deal actual damage against demolishers, they are not very good, and we have not seen a really viable build that can just one-shot demolishers at any level. So yeah, we decided to put their ability-focused on C tier and a weapon buffer low A. Next up is Dante. We put him at a high A tier, because he has an issue, and that issue is called overguard. Overguard gating is horribly bad. It just doesn't scale at all. The second you reach like level, I'd say 500, 1k, overguard ridiculously fast drops off and just becomes basically unusable. It is ridiculous. They need to do something if they want to do it. The change I would say they could make is to remove status immunity, but make it scale with enemy levels or something. You don't need the status immunity. You can just outsource that for other means. Besides that, he is a great caster and a weapons platform. He can make you deal some insane status damage through its birds. His 4, just in general, can basically expedite damage procs. It is pretty good. We have a Dante build on him. Go check it out if you want. It is just pure heat focus, and you just expedite the procs and it deals a billion damage. It's fun to play. Next up is EMBER. We put her at high S tier because her weapons platform is insanely good. What Ino likes to say, the new heat is the old slash, and I agree with him. Heat currently, as it is the most busted element you can play. And for a good reason, it stacks infinitely, and the damage just goes up and up and up and up and up. So, meaning EMBER just can take pure advantage of that. On top of that, she has her armor strip, which is pretty nice. The armor strip also, with the augment, gives you overguard, so doubles the survivability, sorta. But if you decide to build an actual caster EMBER, we don't recommend that at all. We put that into F tier. It is horribly bad. You should not build for that. If you want to build EMBER, go for a weapons platform. If you don't want to do that, just leave it be. It doesn't matter. So again, S plus weapons platform, F caster. Next on the list, we have EQUINOX. We put EQUINOX at low B, high C, because the main problem with EQUINOX is if you want to use the 4 to actually kill disruptors, it needs an extremely high charge, plus you need a pretty high raw percentage, which is overall just a lot of stacking to do between each round or each disruptor, which is kind of a pain in the ass, honestly. We tried it and it doesn't feel good to play. If you're gonna go for level cap build, you need to subsume all the 1, which means you are probably gonna be forced into the day form, and overall a very high investment to make her viable. It's overall not, you don't gain too much from actually building here. So yeah. Next up, we have EXCALIBUR. This is probably gonna surprise some of you. We put him at A tier. The reason for that, he has good ad clearing, he has good damage, you are basically invulnerable as long as you slash dash, nothing can kill you. The Exalted Blade, even pre-change, deals extremely good damage with the build that Ino came up with. Chromatic Blade and Furious Javelin are needed for that, but still, it can one-shot a level cap disruptor with no stat stick, nothing. So this is only gonna get more ridiculous with the rework coming. So look forward to that. Next up is the Frosty Boy. We are putting him at B tier. I have one issue, well, no, two issues with Frost. First off, his animation speed is hard capped, meaning no matter how many yellow shots you put in, it's not gonna get faster. That is completely horrible. Remove the animation speed cap, it is horrible. And the other problem is, his 4 has a very bad interaction with disruptors, because you cannot freeze them, meaning you can't take advantage of the crit buff. On top of that, he also has the same problem with Overguard. It's just bad at level cap. I mean, yes, you can freeze everything, so that kind of adds to that. But besides that, Overguard at level cap is horrible. Besides that, he's a good frame, good for everything else. But just for disruption, he's just B tier. Next up is GARA. This is, I think, one of 2 frames which didn't get a rating for us. Because the reason for that is we both haven't played her at level cap, so we're not gonna rate her. With the Pseudo Exalt rework coming, our guess is like A to B tier. Though that could change. As I read, it gains crit chance and status chance pretty high. So maybe it's gonna be A tier. We're gonna see that, but we're not gonna rate a frame which we actually haven't played. So GARA is getting no rating for us. You're gonna have to wait for her rework, or for the Exalted rework, for us to actually talk about her. Next on the list, we have Garuda. This is our first SS tier, and there's no doubt about it. Garuda just breaks the game in half. She clears rooms with 2.1 billion damage, is unkillable, her damage scales with enemy HP, she has infinite energy. What else do you want? She one-shots level cap disruptors like it's nothing. So it's basically just play her and GG, everything dies. Next on the list, the next SS tier character, funnily enough, it's GAUSS. So I just made a video on GAUSS, it was actually my last one. If you're interested, go check it out, it's pretty busted. GAUSS is basically unkillable, because he can reach a 100% DR, a true 100% DR. Also, he has Blast Expedite and Heat Inherit going for him, which both are just insane mechanics. He nukes rooms at level cap. He overall is pretty insane if you're going for anything Heat Inherit related. He's your go-to frame. Everything will just die before you can even cast Thermal Thunder under level 1000. It's insane. So yeah, go check that video out if you're interested. But GAUSS also SS tier. Next up, we have the chunky boy, GRENDEL. We put GRENDEL at B tier. We had an original build in mind, but that got messed up. For some reason, Melee Afflictions doesn't interact with Disruptors anymore, and that just fucked over the entire build that we had in mind. And now that that interaction is just gone, it's just kind of mid. GRENDEL is kind of mid. The only viable build is if you go into the gas augment that came out recently, and just heavily invest into that. Everything else is just kind of mid, and we wouldn't recommend playing that. Next up is GYRE. We put GYRE at a A tier. Her ability clears rooms with actual damage. She has the whole quadratic scaling going for her with electric damage and raw. The more enemies there are, the more damage she will deal. She buffs weapons, and electricity weapons make her ability proc infinitely on a loop, which is kind of funny to watch. So yeah, she's pretty much the electric frame that can just kill level cap no problem. So she gets a mid A tier from us. Up next is the Goth Priest, HARROW. He is also an easy SS tier. He has infinite energy, has an insane flat crit buff, a long shield getting duration because of his ridiculously high shields. He gets fire rate, he gets a reload boost, he gets lifesteal. He doesn't need a subsume at all. You can make him work without it. We made it work and just made Sporotrix an absolute monster. The weapon has, I think, 1% crit chance, and it was red critting. So yeah, keep that in mind. Plus, on top of that, he also has an insanely long invulnerability duration if you build into duration, and just insane weapon buffer. So you can easily play him, and he will just demolish everything, no questions asked. Next on the list, we have HILDRYN. Now, HILDRYN is kind of a frame, so we put her at D tier. The problem with HILDRYN is, if you actually want to make her Balefire kill level cap demolitionists, it can't. We tried it. It doesn't even scale with ability damage shards, which is kind of weird. Why it wouldn't? It's an ability. Why doesn't it scale with ability damage shards? Besides that, Balefire can kill level cap trash, but that's about it. Pillage gives you an armor strip and a longer shield getting duration, but requires an insane strength investment. 300 to 400% depending on your mods, such as Corrosive Protection, that bumps it down by a little, but if you don't play Corrosive Protection, you need to play 400% power strength, which is absolutely mental. The rest of her kit is kind of bad. She definitely needs some love. And her 4 needs some love with crit chance. Because goddamn, that thing is non-existent. Up next, we have the Tentacle Man, HYDROID. We put HYDROID at A to A- tier, so low A. Because this is going to be a reoccurring issue, as you're going to notice, he needs Catalyzing Shield to shield gate in level cap because he has too much base shield. But if you look besides that, he has an insane damage boost with his Corrosive Plunder. Then he can innate Armor Strip with his passive, so it's basically green shards for free. He has a Status Cleanse and immunity through his Augment. Overall, very solid frame, though he needs Catalyzing Shield to really work. Next up, we have the Sand Boy, INAROS, F tier, straight up. His survivability is okay if you spam tornadoes and like rolling guard and stuff, but he has no real damage. Like his tornadoes, yes, you can make a tornado focus build and make it kill stuff, but it's just not very good. So yeah, F tier for Sand Boy, go next. Up next is the Jellyfish Queen, IVARA. We put her at S tier. Simply because infinite invisibility, a headshot damage multiplier, you can play a funny navigator build for insane damage. Overall, very good, easy to play, so S tier. Jade, yeah, this one is a weird topic. We put her at D tier, so we play her with an old fire build, which is in our opinion better than the primary fire build. But there is one big problem with the old fire build. Galvanized mods do not apply to the old fire at all for some reason. She needs raw over her 2 if you want to do exalted DPS. And another recurring thing, too many shields. So yeah, overall pretty mediocre, E tier. Next up is the Whip Mami, F tier. She is not viable for disruption. I don't know what you expected. The exalted weapon is bad for demos. Maybe it could be with the rework, but if not, GG, go next. Up next, we have KOUMEI. We put her at low A tier. I mean, she has gambling. Of course, we have to put her high, because we just gamble ribbons all day. If you put silence on her, she's an absolute CC monster. Like, you press her for once and it just CCs the whole room. She has that much scaling range benefits. It's absolutely insane. Plus, the decrees are just broken. Not much else to say about her. Then there is KULLERVO. KULLERVO has a reoccurring issue, and it is not shields, because he can't have shields. It is Overguard. Overguard is ridiculously bad for level cap. There's only 1 or 2 frames we can actually do it correctly, but that's about it. It really needs some attention, else this frame will never be more viable than just a base Steel Puff nuker. And that's it. The only viable build for him is the melee build. If you play a non-melee build in KULLERVO, that is kind of weird in our opinion, but hey, you build whatever you want to build. Next up, we have LAVOS. Also, low B tier. Now hear us out before you jump to a gun. He has damage out of the wazoo with status, but he has no survivability at all. Therefore, you need to sacrifice your subsume slot to actually have some sort of survivability and can't just build more into damage. And if you don't do that, GG, you have to rolling guard spam. And let me tell you, I did it with Stug. It is not fun. Then there's LIMBO. We put LIMBO at a mid B tier. Bro can deal a metric ton of damage, but has a major issue. He can stop disruptors, but disruptor just disable it after like 5 seconds because of their pulse. So if you manage to do it in a time frame, it actually is going to deal an insane amount of damage because he has a very high additive damage increase. And if you don't, ah well, GG, you just lost your entire combo. Oh well, very a pain in the ass to play. So yeah, next up we have Loki. We put Loki at A tier. The only real viable build that we think for Loki is the decoy build, because it just attracts enemy aggression and overall very solid. He can be permanently invisible. If you play switch teleport, he is unkillable, but if you want your decoy to actually do the reflect damage, you have to play raw, so that's kinda meh. But besides that, overall very solid frame and definitely not as bad as some of the community members make it seem out to be. Next on the list, we have Mag, easy S tier. Thanks for infinite shield gating. I mean, what else should I say about that? The bubble gives you an insane damage increase. She has armor strip. She jams weapons with the augment and is absolutely insane with infinite punch through weapons. Just try her out and you will see. It is just mental. Next up on the list, we have Mesa, A to low A tier. She can't shield get at all because she has no recastable abilities. Her free is useless, so you're forced to play Vazarin, but she got some good damage increases, and a little teaser for you guys, DOT Mesa is real and she can hurt you. Next up, we have Mirage. Mirage is an insane damage booster, but a glass cannon. Same issue as Banshee, she has no survivability, cause no real shield gating options. Yes, you can recast Eclipse, but that's kinda meh. On top of Eclipse, she has original Eclipse, meaning you can get like 600-700%, and that is just broken as hell. You can play her 4, but you're gonna fall asleep without casting speed shots. Either you sacrifice shard slot, or you're gonna fall asleep. No in between. Then we have our favorite neighborhood necromancer, Necros. We put him at C tier. Yes, he can kill level cap disruptors with his minions, but with recurring theme, too much base shield, you're basically forced to play Vazarin or Catalyzing Shield. But if you're going for a pure necromancer build, you can do that easily. That is 100% viable. And then there is Nezha. Oh, Nezha. If he didn't have this one major issue, he would have been S tier, or maybe SS even. But no, because of one issue, we put him at B tier. And that is, warding Halo is just bad. If it was recastable like Yareli's Merulina, it would actually like somewhat work. But no, you can't recast it. At level cap, you need it to have no charge, or else it will do nothing for you. It is just over. But if you look past that, he has insane room nuking, he has a damage vulnerability which scales pretty well, and his 4 has a damage multiplier. Yeah, if his 3 was recastable, he would have been easy S tier. Next up, we have Nidus. So there's 2 rankings once again. If you play Nidus in co-op play, meaning you have other players in your squad, he is easily S tier. And that is because of one reason. His link multiplies your power strength. Meaning, if your Nidus has 100% increase and he links to you with 300, you will have 600% power strength afterwards. Now, he is basically unkillable, or no, he is unkillable, as long as you have stacks, and that is easy with Insatiable, but he has that horrible death animation. It is just basically not watchable. The zoom in, it is, not good. But if you're gonna play him solo, he's only gonna be C tier max, since his kit overall is just not that good. Now, we get to the frame which I mained for the longest time, Nova. Nova, once again, easy S tier. Now, there's multiple reasons for that, including her 4 gives a damage vulnerability, you can slow down the entire map or speed it up as you want, and overall, very easy to play. She has damage reduction, which is questionable at best, and also she has an easy subsume slot with her portal. That thing is just bad, I don't know why you would play that. Now, we get to one of the most broken frames in the entire game, if not nearly the most broken frame. Nyx. Easy SS tier. She has scaling abilities, she nukes rooms with 2.1 billion damage, her minions one-shot anything, including level cap demos. They deal so much damage, they overcharge her quite easily, and she is literally unkillable. Though she has one minor bug with the 4, and that is if you stay in it too long, you will start taking damage, which is just bad. But besides that, her kit is just overpowered as hell. If you haven't played her, go try her. Next on the list, we have the GOAT, Oberon, pun intended. Now, this may surprise a lot of you. We're putting him at high A tier. The reason for that, you will see next week. But he has a returning issue, too much base shield. If he had less base shields, and he would easily be able to shield gate, he could have been SS tier. No, I'm not joking around, I'm meaning it. The reason for that is he has scaling damage with enemy HP, a room-wide armor strip, and you have a room-wide status immunity. He is insane. I would say look out for the video next week. It's gonna probably blow your mind. It blew mine when I first saw it. Now, I'm gonna probably antagonize a majority of the community. Octavia, brain rot here. You lose brain cells while playing this. You do nothing and everything dies. Absolute brain rot. We don't play her. Next, the Oppenheimer frame. Protea. We put her as at SS tier under one condition, and that is as long as Acuity is multiplicative as it is right now, she can stay in SS tier, but if that gets fixed, maybe we're gonna bump her down to an S tier, but she's still overall a very good frame. She just nukes the entire room, including demos. Everything dies, demo dies, enemies die, everything dead. She is unkillable basically, because she has a 5-second shield gaining duration, but if you're gonna play her, do not play Augur mods of any kind. Because the problem is they override her shield gaining duration. Now, I saw a lot of people mention why are we playing them in our Protea build, even though I explained it in a video. We played it for the range. We had no other choice, we couldn't play overextended, and going with too little range would have made her nuke useless. But if you're not going for that, just drop any Augur mods. Now we have the Demon Core frame, Corvex. D tier. He's cool for base steel path, but not viable for level cap at all. He's an ability nuker, but that's about it. Maybe cool for Void Cascade level cap, though we don't know, we don't play that mode much. So yeah, if you wanna try it, go ahead. Now, another frame, which is gonna antagonize a majority of people. Revenant. Brainrot tier. If I could put him lower, I would put him lower. I would put him like 5 tiers below that, if I could. Your brain cells actively die while you play this. You get a multiplier on losing brain cells if you decide to use Torrid or Dual Toxicist on top of that. If you play that, why? Just why? Anyway, let's move on. Next up, we have Rhino. Rhino is an easy S tier. First of all, original raw. He has actual scaling overguard, which is good, in contrast to the stale static that all the other frames have. He has a room-wide crowd control that refills your overguard as well. He has a subsume slot, a good one. You can subsume over the 1 easily. In majority of the builds, you're not gonna need it, but that's just our opinion. But yeah, you can subsume anything you want onto him, and it will technically work. Very cool frame, overall. And the last frame which is gonna get put into Brainrot tier, Seren. Now, before you jump the gun, I was a Seren main for the longest time. If you check my playtime, she is my most used frame with like 10%. So I can say this, you can give this frame a toaster and it will kill anything. It hyper buffs anything to hell and back. If you use Seren in your build, it's Seren doing the damage, not your weapon. I don't know what to say about this. You get toxin damage, you get infused corrosive damage, you have viral damage, you have an armor strip if you put 2 green shards onto her that just armor strips the entire map. It's all very stupid, and yeah, you can give this frame a toaster and it will do the same. Anyway, let's move on. We have the Ghost Boy, Sevagoth. We have him currently at B tier. The Ghost can kill level cap disruptors. Also, Sevagoth gives you an insane crit chance boost. You don't need raw to nuke, despite popular opinion. It works with all subsumes. But the second the Exalted Rework drops, he may become an S tier frame, depending on how well the Arcanes interact with the Ghost. Next on the list, we have Styanax. So, we have put him in A tier, but there is a major issue. He needs a certain weapon to kill level cap disruptors, which a build for that is gonna come soon, so I can't really tell you which weapon it is. Go figure it out yourself if you want. But besides that, he has infinite energy, infinite overguard, can easily gain overshield, has easy time shield gating, so basically immortal. He has an innate armor strip with his 2. He has an easy subsume slot, the 1 is quite bad. Overall, a very solid frame, and you can make him definitely work if you just play that 1 single weapon. Now we have the Fairy Queen, Titania. We put her as C tier. You can make Dex Pixia work, but it needs Arcanes to do actually something. Like, it needs a rework. She is status immune, she has a dodge chance, so she just dodges bullets, but she needs an extremely high investment to do level cap. So yeah, C tier. Then there is the friendly neighborhood healer, Trinity. She's an easy SS tier for a simple reason. She has true damage. Your damage will do the same no matter what level you're at. You have infinite energy, infinite shield, and on top of that, if you give her ability damage shards, it scales her true damage up. And no, you don't need armor strip for that. It does the same. Then we have Valkyr, E tier. Her base damage is too low. She definitely needs an arcane on her melee to function. Without it, it's just kinda bad. Her kit is very mediocre. If you don't have a specific niche build in mind, I would say don't try it. Next up, we have the Vortex Frame, Vauban. We put him in A tier, and that is because he has the same problem. He has too much base shield. But he has scaling damage, and can even one-shot level cap demos if you use the artillery strike, whatever you want to call it, the beam. It just scales in damage. It's quite broken. He has an innate armor strip and CC through Bastille. A solid kit, but we just wish that whole base shield too high would be, like, reduced. It makes quite a lot of frames just unplayable, or like, you need to play Catalyzing Shield. It's annoying as hell. Up next, we have the Speedster, Volt. Easy S tier. You can have a damage infusion with the augment, you can have a speed boost that boosts your reload speed, or just subsume over it, a shield that boosts crit damage and blocks enemy shields. It also infuses electricity. You get free survivability if you play Capacitance. Overall, very solid frame. Definitely deserves the S tier. Next up, the second frame we are not ranking, Boruna. Now, I have a question to DE directly. Why can you not recast subsume abilities while you are in her 4? It is annoying as hell and makes the augment for the 4 basically unplayable because you permanently lose your stacks. If that is a change we could have, please make it. It would make the frame 10 times better. Now, we have Wisp. Easy SS tier. I mean, she has her motes, the best support tool in the game, arguably. Give health, fire rate, movement speed, and even stun enemies through electric procs. Her free blinds enemies and shoots out sparks that deal damage based on what damage you dealt. You gain an invulnerability through her 2, which also doubles down as a CC with high threat level, the same as Loki's decoy. And also, fun fact, if you have her 2 active and then cast Breach Surge, your 2 will also cast Breach Surge. So overall, more range for you. And on top of that, her 4 is useless, so just subsume over it. We're almost at the end. Next up, we have the Monkey King, Wukong. A D tier, yes, the Cloudwalker Slam Kong build is funny, but it's kind of been overused to hell and back, and also been heavily nerfed by DE. But besides that, his kit is just bad. His clone is still a clone, which just dies instantly. His Defy is basically useless, and his Iron Staff definitely needs a rework to actually function. Not much to say. Then there is Zaku with high B tier. One thing that's questionable, why does Zaku have a 26% Zata, even though it's on Zaku themselves? It doesn't make any sense. Then there is the whole shebang that when Void damage got nerfed, that nerfed Grass with Lockhart, it's like a 50% damage loss. But innate armor strip or mind control, which are pretty good at. The beam is just useless, I don't know who plays this. They have innate dodge chance and infinite innate ability duration as long as the 4 is active. And now we get to our 2 main Warframes. And no, I can tell you this is not biased on opinion or anything. It is just true if you actually understand the Warframes. First off, we have Yareli. She is the second highest ranking in this entire tier list. She's an absolute monster. If played correctly, you can't die because you can just recast Merlina on repeat. She is the strongest secondary weapons platform. She has an insanely high scaling damage vulnerability that scales up to like 600+%. Her 1 and her 4 are great CC tools. Her 3 is gonna need a rework, and if it doesn't receive that, it's gonna beat the subsume slots every time. Overall, an extremely underrated monster, unlike popular opinion. I just say this frame is shit. It is not. It is an absolute monster, and you would know that if you actually tried it. And last on the list, the most broken Warframe in the entire game, my main, Zephyr. Zephyr is the easy SS tier above everyone else. In case you didn't know it, Zephyr just breaks damage attenuation in half and one-shots anything. It one-shots Archons, it one-shots the green blobs from 1999, it one-shots anything. She is by far the strongest weapon DPS frame in the game, no questions asked. And no staff build, throw that thing in the trash where it belongs. Besides that, her passive gives you crit chance, her 2 is a great CC tool, which also provides additive pistol damage, her 3 blocks projectiles, so basically nothing can hit you besides beams and Eximus abilities, so essentially unkillable. And then there are her tornadoes. these are broken beyond reason. They just say no to damage alternation with Zata. It's important to play Zata, because if you have that and you play the augment for the tornadoes, Zata gives you second damage instance. Each of the tornadoes gives you a separate damage instance. It just overflows. Damage duration is so hard that you can deal no damage. I had it happen in Battle of the Beast. I just dealt no damage to the sister, just to have 0. It did that much damage. I don't know how this frame is not more widely known, so if you want to try some new frames, try Zefā and Yareli. I can definitely recommend it. No, this is not biased in opinion. We're gonna bring out a Zefā video and a Yareli video, so you can replicate the builds we use. Overall, 2 monsters of Warframes. Yeah, I hope this tier list actually brought you some clarity. It was fun to make, fun to discuss. Sadly, we couldn't rank 2 Warframes, but I think it's better to not rate them than just give them a false rating. Yeah, if you enjoyed it, feel free to leave your opinion in the comments. I'm gonna read them, because I'm curious on what you guys think. Yeah, we have a Discord. If you're interested, you can join that. We're currently actively looking for new moderators. If that interests you, feel free to join and open a support ticket. I'm happy to talk with you about it. Besides that, hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna see you in the next video. Peace out.